Back now with the crypto fraudster. He has been sentenced, Sam Bankman-Fried, here in New York today to 25 years in prison. 25 years. Let's bring Brian Claypool in on this, the attorney, to talk about it. And, you know, there was this headline, Brian, earlier. They said they wanted 100 years plus, which seemed a little crazy. But he wanted 5 to 7. So by that measure, 25, certainly more than he was bargaining for. What'd you make of the sentence?
Yeah, Connell, great to be back with you. I think the sentence was fair. Remember Elizabeth Holmes, she got, I think, about 13 or 14 years. Mm-hmm. And this is a higher sentence. And the reason why the judge gave more years, Connell, is a couple of reasons. Well, actually, 3. The first is Bankman-Fried didn't really show any remorse. He got up and gave a wrangling statement that really didn't make any sense, wasn't coming from his heart, didn't seem like he cared about all the investors that he built out of millions, billions of dollars. That was the first thing. Second thing the judge said, Judge Kaplan said that he felt like Bankman-Fried committed perjury, Connell,
right,
during trial by saying that he wasn't aware of any money being transferred from FTX to the Alameda private group that he owned as well prior to 2022. That was contradicted at trial. Judge thought that was perjury. And then the third reason why is because the judge felt like if he's released earlier, he might go out and do this crime again. So those 3 factors gravitated against Bankman-Fried. I think it's in the middle. I think it's fair.
It's funny, you can help yourself, I guess. Well, you would have experience in this as a defendant in these cases, and he didn't help himself, doesn't sound like.
Connell, that is fascinating that you said that, because when I was reading about this, I was thinking to myself, this judge actually took into consideration how Bankman-Fried stood up and talked to Kaplan about how he felt about what he did. It does actually matter. I think we, looking on the outside in, sometimes think that it doesn't matter. You're going to get, X number of years, no matter what you say in court. But Bankman-Fried had a chance to stand up there, say that he was wrong. He has remorse for this. It won't happen again. And he blew it. And he's going to spend more time in jail for that. We
have some of the FTX, which was his company. We have some of their customer statements. I read one last hour. This is another one that, because you talk about, who got hurt by this. We all know the Bernie Madoff stories from years ago, but there's some people who really got hit by this too. This is an FTX customer statement talking about the aftermath of the bankruptcy has not only affected me financially and emotionally, but has also strained my relationships. The stress and anxiety has made it difficult for me to be fully present with my loved ones. And, we had someone else last hour who, there's someone was suicidal in their family and all this kind of thing. So there were people, real people, who got hurt by this guy. He was, he may not have been Madoff, who got 100 and something years when he was sentenced, but he ripped off his own clients, right?
Yeah, Connell, you're absolutely right. And this was very brazen. This was not an example of somebody who creates a startup, right? And then he or she makes bad decisions. And they make bad decisions about the company that leads to the company losing money and investors losing their money. That's not what happened here. This was a conscious decision made by a narcissist who wanted to be famous, who took human beings' money that they worked hard from, and they transferred it from one company to another company to engage in luxurious lifestyles, to make massive contributions to political candidates, leaving investors high and dry.
Right.
And quite frankly, Bankman-Fried is fortunate that he didn't get more years. I mean, like you just said, Madoff was 100 years. I know that was a lot bigger, but look, this could have been worse for him. And there are people behind this, and they experienced pain.
They did, but he gets 25, which, as you say, is it's a pretty stiff sentence. There's one more. That sentencing is done. One more trial I'd like to ask you about, because I think it brings up a lot of interesting legal questions. Out in Arizona, this rancher who is accused of killing a migrant who came onto his property brings up questions about what you could do to defend your own property. To set that up, the guy's name is George Kelly. Let's listen to the prosecutor. The trial is underway. Kimberly Hunley at the start of the trial explaining their case. Let's listen. Oh, we don't have that. Okay. So what she said was that Mr. Kelly comes in, he had his AK-47 semi-automatic assault-type rifle with him and a handgun. He walks into the house, opens fire on 2 unarmed men who were unsuspecting, and he kills one of them. That's the allegation. One of the things, again, how can you defend your home? But also, I was looking at the defense and all this. Now I guess they've got to come up with some sort of a strategy, and they're claiming it may have been someone else, which I found suspect. But what do you make of this trial?
Yeah, Connell, this is a case where self-defense intersects with murder, right? And look, the defense that his lawyers are putting up is, in my opinion, ridiculous. Trying to say it's somebody else, that's going to be proven to the contrary through ballistics. Ballistics tell the tale. What bullets were used, what gun was used. They're going to tie it to Kelly's gun and Kelly's bullets. That's a silly argument. I think the better argument that should have been made is, look, Kelly's damaged goods. He lives near the border in New Mexico between New Mexico and Mexican border. He's had migrants come through. They're drug smugglers, human traffickers, and he was mentally, unfit because of all the things that are taking place in his backyard. That might have been a better argument, but Connell, look, let's face the music. Even with that argument, he has a major uphill battle. Why? Because the one fact you've got to prove in using self-defense, and police officers too have to prove this, is what was the shooter in immediate, imminent danger of serious harm.
Right.
That's the standard. And this guy, the guy that he killed, Connell, was over a football field away, and he was unarmed. So those are two devastating facts. You combine that with a text message that Kelly sent about the victim being an animal, and it does raise the issue of, is there some kind of racial animus that triggered the shooting.
All right, Brian, as always, we appreciate it. Brian Claypool with us today on a couple of interesting cases. Our coverage continues here on News Nation Now. In just a moment, we'll be right back.